You want to look good. You want to roll up to the gym, the date, or the drive-thru not driving a 2011 Nissan Altima with a rattling bumper and a check engine light that haunts your dreams. You want status. You want that aggressively synthetic new car smell. So you walk into a dealership, point at a shiny midnight black Ford Bronco, sign a stack of legal documents, and drive away feeling like a king. But mathematically, you just shot yourself in both kneecaps. Buying a brand new car is widely considered the single most destructive financial decision the average guy makes in his 20s. Today, we are tearing apart the brutal math of car loans, dealer psychology, and the hidden mechanics of depreciation. By the end, you'll understand exactly why financing a new vehicle guarantees you stay broke.
We are socially conditioned to believe that driving an expensive car means you have a lot of money. Take that guy you went to high school with who just posted a steering wheel pic in his new Bronco. You assume his bank account is stacked. In reality, he doesn't own a Bronco. A bank owns a Bronco, and he owns a legally binding contract to pay them a massive chunk of his paycheck every month. So what? Status signals in the modern world are almost always just debt signals in disguise. Okay, let's look at the actual price tag.
MSRP stands for Manufacturer's Suggested Retail Price. It is the big, bold number on the windshield sticker. The Bronco says $50,000, but then the dealer tacks on sales tax, title fees, registration, and a dealer preparation fee, which is essentially dealership code for "we washed it and want an extra grand." So what? Before your foot even touches the gas pedal, your $50,000 vehicle actually costs you $55,000. Cool. Now you have to figure out how to pay for it. Car dealerships are not actually in the business of selling cars. They're in the business of brokering loans. It is exactly like walking into an Apple store for a laptop, and instead of telling you it costs $2,000, the employee asks, "What can you afford a month?" They then manipulate the math on that midnight black Ford Bronco so the monthly payment fits your exact answer. So what? You stop looking at the total cost of the machine and start treating a massive debt like a Spotify subscription. Which brings us to how they actually lower that number. Historically, a standard auto loan lasted about 36 months. Today, banks stretch them to 72, 84, or even 96 months. You want the Bronco, but $900 a month feels like a punch to the throat. The dealer taps his calculator, stretches the loan across 7 years, and magically gets the payment down to $600. You think you just won a negotiation. So what? You are now legally bound to pay for a degrading asset for nearly a decade of your adult life. But wait, the timeline isn't even the worst part. APR is your annual percentage rate. It is the premium you pay a bank for the privilege of spending money you don't actually have. If you borrow $50,000 at an 8% APR for 72 months, you are not paying the bank $50,000. You're paying them over $63,000. So what? You just torched $13,000 in pure interest just so you could drive a cooler car to your Tuesday morning staff meeting. And the math gets even darker when you look at how that interest is applied. Auto loans are amortized, meaning the bank structures the payments so they get their profit first. During the first 2 years of paying for your Bronco, a massive chunk of your $600 monthly payment goes straight to the bank's interest, while barely touching the actual $50,000 you owe for the car itself. So what? You can make payments for 24 months straight and realize your actual debt has barely moved an inch. Now, combine that slow payoff with the single biggest wealth killer in existence.
Depreciation is the undeniable law of physics that states an asset loses monetary value simply by existing over time. If you buy a share of an index fund, it generally goes up. If you buy a Bronco, it bleeds value the second the rubber tires touch public asphalt. So what? Cars are not investments. They are rapidly depreciating consumer goods. Let's look at the actual math of that drop.
The absolute steepest drop in a car's value happens the exact moment it transitions from new to used.
Imagine you sign the papers for the $50,000 Bronco, drive it out of the lot, hit a red light, and suddenly decide you hate it. You turn around to sell it back. The dealer will offer you roughly $45,000. So what? You just lost $5,000 in 3 minutes. That is more than most people make in a month, vaporized in the time it takes to heat up a Hot Pocket. And the bleeding doesn't stop there.
Industry research suggests that a new car loses roughly 60% of its value in its first 5 years. By year 5, that aggressively cool $50,000 Bronco is just another used SUV worth roughly $20,000 on a good day. So what? Your asset evaporated $30,000 in wealth just by sitting quietly in your driveway enduring the weather. Now let's smash the slow loan payoff and the fast depreciation together to see the trap snap shut.
Being underwater or having negative equity means you owe the bank more money than the asset is actually worth. It is year 3. Because of the 72-month loan, you still owe $35,000 on the Bronco. But because of depreciation, the car is only worth $25,000 on the used market. So what? If you get T-boned at an intersection tomorrow, your insurance writes a check for $25K and you still have to pay the bank $10,000 out of pocket for a car that is currently sitting in a junkyard. Dealerships absolutely love when you are in this position. This is the psychological trick of taking the debt from your old car and burying it inside a brand new loan. You get bored of the Bronco. You want a sports car. You trade in the Bronco, but you still owe that $10,000 difference. The dealer says, "No stress, bro," and simply adds that 10 grand to the loan of your new sports car. So what? You are now paying interest on a phantom car you no longer own, stacked on top of a car you just bought. This is a financial death spiral, and the industry has a product specifically designed for it.
Guaranteed Asset Protection, GAP, is an extra insurance policy that covers the difference between what you owe and what the car is worth if you total it. When you buy the Bronco, the finance guy will aggressively push GAP coverage. Why? Because he knows the loan structure is predatory and you are instantly going to be underwater. So what? You are paying an extra fee to protect the bank from the terrible financial math you just agreed to. Let's zoom out and look at the invisible cost of all this. Opportunity cost is the basic economic principle of what else you could have done with your capital. You are paying $800 a month for the Bronco when you factor in the loan and the mandatory insurance. What if you bought a $10,000 used Honda in cash and invested that $800 a month into an S&P 500 index fund instead? So what? The money you lock up in a depreciating metal box is money that is legally blocked from making you rich. Let's do the actual millionaire math. Compound interest is the snowball effect of your money making money over long periods of time. If you took that $800 Bronco payment and invested it every month from age 20 to age 50, assuming a standard historical 8% market return, it grows to over $1.1 million. So what? That vehicle literally cost you your retirement. You traded $1 million future for heated seats and a touchscreen. Okay, but what about the argument for reliability? The most common excuse guys use to justify buying new is the peace of mind that comes with a factory warranty. You tell yourself you are buying the new Bronco because you don't want to deal with unexpected mechanic bills. So what? You are mathematically agreeing to pay $6,000 a year in guaranteed depreciation just to avoid a hypothetical $1,000 repair bill. That is deeply irrational. Speaking of irrational costs, let's talk about the legal requirements. When a bank owns your car, they legally require you to carry premium, comprehensive, and collision insurance to protect their asset. If you own a cheap used car outright, you can buy basic liability insurance for $50.
But for the financed Bronco, you were forced to pay top-tier rates to insure the bank's property. So what? Your monthly car expense just jumped another $150 to $200, quietly bleeding your checking account. And then the local government wants a piece of you. Every year, you have to pay the state to register your vehicle. And in many places, this is based on the vehicle's assessed value. Registering a 10-year-old beater costs pennies. Registering a brand new $50,000 Bronco can easily cost you $600 to $1,000 a year, depending on your zip code. So what? The newer and nicer your car is, the more the government penalizes you just for the right to drive it to work. Cool. So if buying new is a trap, what about the other option?
Leasing is essentially signing a long-term rental agreement with the dealership where you agree to fund the car's depreciation. You lease the Bronco for $500 a month. You drive it for 3 years. You hand the keys back to the dealer. So what? You just paid $18,000 to rent a vehicle and you walk away with zero equity, zero assets, and the exact same need for a car. And leases come with tripwires.
Leases strictly limit how much you are allowed to use the car, usually capping you at 10,000 or 12,000 miles a year. You lease the Bronco, get a new girlfriend who lives an hour away, and suddenly you are driving 18,000 miles a year. When you return the car, the dealer hits you with a massive fee for every mile over the limit. So what? You were paying a premium monthly price for a car you were economically terrified to actually drive. So, what if you try to trade your way out? Trading in your old car at the dealership feels convenient, but it is a masterclass in giving up your leverage. You bring in your old sedan. You know it's worth $8,000 on Facebook Marketplace. The dealer offers you $5,000, framing it as a discount on your new Bronco. So what? You just paid a $3,000 convenience fee because you were too lazy to take a few photos and sell it to a private buyer. This all feeds into their favorite weapon.
The Foursquare is a psychological visual tool dealerships use to intentionally confuse your brain during negotiations. They literally draw a cross on a piece of paper, dividing it into price, trade-in value, down payment, and monthly payment. They slide numbers around between the boxes so it constantly looks like you are winning. So what? It's a distraction tactic. While you fight to the death over your trade-in value, they quietly raise the interest rate on the back end. Which brings us to the most dangerous room in the building.
The F&I room is where the dealership actually makes its serious profit. You agreed to the Bronco's price. You feel victorious. You walk into a small back room where a very nice guy rapid-fires pitches for extended warranties, tire protection plans, and magical paint sealants. So what? You are suffering from decision fatigue, so you agree to a $600 wax job that costs the dealership $20 to apply. But none of this matters without the final boss.
Your credit score is the 3-digit number that dictates exactly how badly the bank is allowed to mathematically abuse you. A guy with an elite 800 credit score finances the Bronco and pays 5% interest. A guy with a messy 620 score finances the exact same Bronco and gets slapped with a 14% interest rate. So what? Over a 72-month loan, the guy with bad credit pays nearly $10,000 more for the exact same vehicle. The system literally penalizes you for being broke.
Subprime auto loans are targeted specifically at desperate people with terrible credit who need a car to get to work. They slap you with a 20% interest rate and often install a GPS kill switch in the dashboard. If you miss a payment by 3 days, they remotely disable your engine while you're in the grocery store parking lot. So what? It is legally sanctioned loan sharking that guarantees you can never build wealth. Some people try to outsmart the math with a hack.
This is a minor optimization trick where you change the frequency of your payments to attack the loan principal faster. Instead of paying $600 once a month for the Bronco, you pay $300 every 2 weeks. Because there are 52 weeks in a year, you end up making 26 half payments, which equals 13 full payments instead of 12. So what? It chips away at the principal slightly faster and saves a little interest, but it is like bringing a squirt gun to a house fire. Let's talk about the psychological reality of owning the car. We buy cars based on fantasy scenarios, but we actually use them in agonizingly boring reality. You bought the Bronco, visualizing yourself off-roading through the mountains with a golden retriever. In reality, you work in IT and spend 45 minutes a day staring at the brake lights of a Prius on the interstate. So what? You paid $50,000 for a rugged metal box just to listen to tech podcasts in gridlock traffic. This disconnect fuels the next problem.
The hedonic treadmill is a psychological concept where humans quickly adapt to new luxuries, returning to their baseline level of happiness. For the first 2 weeks, getting into the midnight black Bronco feels euphoric. By month 3, it is just your car. You don't even notice the leather anymore. So what? You are paying a massive premium for a dopamine hit that expired 90 days ago. And to chase that high, guys do something even dumber.
This is the act of spending thousands of dollars to modify a vehicle that you do not actually own. You are already paying $800 a month for the Bronco, but you decide it needs a $2,000 suspension lift and $1,500 custom wheels. You put the parts on a high-interest credit card. So what? You are lighting money on fire to customize bank property, and the modifications actually decrease the resale value of the car. Eventually, you realize you are trapped.
The sunk cost fallacy is the human tendency to continue a bad strategy simply because you have already invested heavily in it. You finally realize the Bronco is keeping you broke, but you think, I've already put $15,000 into these payments, I can't just sell it now. So what? That $15,000 is a ghost. It is gone forever. Keeping the car just guarantees you lose another $15,000. So how do you actually win this game?
The mathematical sweet spot for buying a car is letting a stranger take the financial beating for you. You buy a reliable 4-year-old vehicle, the original owner took the massive 40 to 50% depreciation hit, you swoop in and get 90% of the car's remaining mechanical lifespan for half the original price. So what? You are letting someone else subsidize your daily transportation. But how should you pay for it?
Paying cash means handing over the full price up front to entirely eliminate the concept of interest. Instead of financing the Bronco, you save up and hand over $12,000 for a clean, used Toyota Camry. So what? You own the title. No interest, no bank mandates, no negative equity. If you lose your job tomorrow, nobody is coming in the middle of the night with a tow truck to repo your car. But what if you absolutely have to finance?
This is a strict financial framework designed to prevent you from buying more car than you can actually afford. If you must finance, put 20% down, finance for no more than 4 years, 48 months, and ensure your total car expenses, payment plus insurance, do not exceed 10% of your gross monthly income. So what? If you run these numbers honestly, you will quickly realize you need to make $150,000 a year to safely afford that Bronco, which leads to a shift in mindset. This is the psychological shift from viewing a car as a reflection of your identity to viewing it as a simple utility tool. A toaster's job is to toast bread. A car's job is to move your physical body from point A to point B safely. You do not need a Gucci toaster. So what? When you detach your ego from your steering wheel, you free up hundreds of thousands of dollars over your lifetime. If you are currently trapped, here is the exit strategy. Escaping a bad car loan requires taking a short-term hit for a long-term victory. You wash the Bronco, take great photos, and sell it privately to a human being, not a dealer. If you are underwater by $3,000, you take out a small personal loan to cover the gap and hand over the title. So what? It hurts deeply to pay off a loan for a car you no longer possess, but it instantly stops the bleeding of depreciation and massive monthly payments. Once you're out, you discover a new freedom.
Driving a cheap, paid-off car comes with a bizarre, liberating psychological peace. Someone dings your door in the grocery store parking lot? You don't care. You hit a pothole? You don't care. Your monthly payment is exactly $0. So what? A guy in a scratch 2012 Civic with zero debt is mathematically wealthier and objectively less stressed than the guy drowning in payments for a pristine 2026 SUV. Let's summarize this absolute bloodbath.
True wealth isn't what you show the world. True wealth is the invisible capital you keep for yourself. The auto industry spends billions on marketing to convince you that financing a depreciating asset is a normal, healthy part of adulthood. It is not. It is a highly optimized system designed to harvest your future labor and transfer it to corporate shareholders. So what? Stop volunteering to be the battery that powers their machine.
Cars are not investments. They are rapidly depreciating consumer goods. MSRP is a lie, and dealers make their money off financing, not the metal. Stretching a loan to 72 months guarantees you pay thousands in useless interest. New cars lose roughly 60% of their value in the first 5 years. Rolling negative equity into a new loan is financial suicide. Opportunity cost means your massive car payment is robbing your retirement. Leasing is just renting a car while funding the worst years of its depreciation. Buy a 4-year-old used car, pay in cash if you can, and follow the 20-4-10 rule if you must finance. Stop tying your self-worth to your steering wheel. The final takeaway, the guy driving the brand new midnight black Ford Bronco isn't richer than you. He just agreed to be poorer for the next 7 years. If you made it this far, hit the like button to help my algorithm, subscribe so you don't ruin your life, and drop a comment below telling me exactly how much negative equity you have rolled into your current Nissan Altima. See you next time.